Welcome to Biology Made Easy. In this lesson, we are looking at photosynthesis, we are looking at sunlight, chloroplast pigments, absorption and action spectra, and the photosystems. We will discuss sunlight energy as waves, the wavelengths, electromagnetic spectrum, visible light as a small part of the spectrum. Then we'll discuss chloroplast pigments, types and colors. Then we'll look at the absorption spectrum and look at its relation with the color of the pigments, and look at action spectrum and its relation with the absorption spectrum, and we'll look at the photosystems. Sunlight energy, if this is sunlight flowing down, the energy of sunlight undulates as waves across space. So here is space and sunlight from the top. The energy comes down as waves. The radiant energy doesn't come down straight across space. The energy flows as waves. A wavelength is the distance between two successive crests. This has this short wavelength, this has this big wavelength. And short wavelengths have great energy, and those that have bigger wavelengths have low energy. So the radiant energy of sunlight, the shorter the wavelengths, the greater the energy. Now, the electromagnetic spectrum is the range of all the wavelengths of radiant energy. And here we have the electromagnetic spectrum. This is it. So we have energy from the sun, and we have all the range of the wavelengths of the radiant energy. So we have them as gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet radiation, visible light, near infrared radiation, far infrared radiation, microwaves, radio waves. Now, here is the shortest wavelengths, and the shortest wavelengths give the greatest energy. And we have gamma rays, X-rays. These are very strong radiations right up in space. We have ultraviolet radiation. A bit of it comes to Earth. These are radiations that come into Earth's space. And these radiations, we have a very small part as visible light. And the visible light, we have these colors: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. And this one has the greatest energy, and as you go down, the energy decreases as we have like this. So we have visible light. These are the colors. We can see all the others out of our range. And the visible light colors with wavelengths, I brought it here to show it here. Now we are going to look at chloroplast pigments, and we have these as pigments. On chloroplast, we have types: chlorophyll A. The color of chlorophyll A is blue-green. Chlorophyll B is yellow-green. Carotenoids, we have carotene, yellow, orange, red is the color. Xanthophyll is yellow. These are the pigments in chloroplast, and they are colors. What that means is that these are the colors that are reflected. It means chlorophyll A is blue-green because it reflects blue-green and absorb other colors. If a color is black, it means it absorbs all the colors of the visible spectrum. So we are now going to look at the absorption spectrum. So here is the absorption spectrum, and a graph that shows the relative amounts of light absorbed at the different wavelengths by the different chlorophyll pigments. And here we have the amount of light absorbed. Here are the wavelengths. Chlorophyll A is this one. See the ranges where it absorbs. It absorbs between 400 and 550. Around there, between that and 600, no absorption takes place. And if you look at the visible light spectrum, you see chlorophyll A is blue-green. Chlorophyll A will reflect blue-green, and so it will not absorb blue-green. And so you see here, we have blue-green around here, and you don't have chlorophyll A absorbing blue-green because it reflects it. That is why it looks blue-green. That's chlorophyll A. Look at chlorophyll B. it absorbs so much around here, 400 to 500 plus, and it's not absorbing between 550 and 600. You have yellow-green, which it reflects. So the absorption spectrum matches with the colors of the pigments. Yes, let's look at the carotenoids. Carotenoids are the blue carotenoids absorbing light for photosynthesis from 400 up to 550, up to around here. All here, there's no carotenoids. Remember, carotenoids is the blue. All from here, 550 going, carotenoid does not absorb light for photosynthesis. And it agrees with here, carotenoids reflect the light. That is why carotenoids are yellow, orange, red, yellow. All these parts are reflected and is shown here. So we have the absorption spectrum. It matches with the colors, the wavelengths or the colors that the different pigments absorb photosynthesis, and it also shows in their pigments that they reflect those pigments that they don't absorb. Very neat. Now we will also look at the action spectrum. That is the graph. So the action spectrum, a graph showing the effectiveness of the different wavelengths of the different pigments that stimulate photosynthesis. And if you look at the action spectrum, it correlates with the absorption spectrum. So if we try to input this on this like this, we'll have it something like this, isn't it? And the action spectrum that we've put here, so here becomes the action spectrum, put in here. Here agrees with this so much, but what about this side, which is so much raised up? The action spectrum on this part is greater than its absorbance spectrum. Can we give reasons why? You know that chlorophyll A, that is this one, and chlorophyll B. Chlorophyll A is the main photosynthetic pigment, and chlorophyll B is an accessory. So this main photosynthetic pigment is absorbing as much as possible from the orange-red ends of the spectrum. Here it absorbs, but because it reflects some because of its colors, we can say that that is part of the reason why it's not so much pronounced here compared to here, because red is being absorbed fully, none is being reflected for photosynthesis by the blue-green chlorophyll and also the yellow-green chlorophyll. So that's about the action spectrum, which correlates quite so much with the absorbant spectrum to indicate the wavelengths of white light that is involved in photosynthesis. So look at the photosystem now. And the photosystem is a cluster of pigments on thylakoid membrane, and it harvests light for photosynthesis. Now, the cluster is made up of the main pigment center, which is chlorophyll A, is also known as the reactive center, and the accessory pigments. The accessory pigments, we have chlorophyll B and the carotenoids. Now, the accessory pigments, they are about 200 to 300 that are arranged, channeling light from sunlight into the primary pigment. And this whole system is what is known as the photosystem. Now, the different accessory pigments collect different wavelengths of light, and they transfer all that wavelength of light to this specialized center, which is chlorophyll A. It's known to have specialized centers that form photosystem 1, written as PS1 or P700, 700 showing the active wavelength, and photosystem 2, PS2 and 680 showing the wavelength. And as we have said, these accessory pigments are arranged nicely with the primary pigment, and they are on the thylakoid membranes. We discussed this in our lesson on chloroplast adaptation. So this is the thylakoid membrane or the grana, and this is the photosystem. And there are a lot of photosystems, plenty on the grana. or granule. This brings us to the end of today's lesson. If the lesson has been useful, give us your likes and kindly do subscribe. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.